What kind of person were you? What kind of person are you to do this to her? Every time you think about her, think about her. You talk about you loved her. How could you love a person and you took her life? How? Is that love? Is that really love? Man. Oh, I wish you could get up and talk, but talk to me. Me. I'm the one that you should have met. Really. Should have been me.
A nurse finishes her overnight shift on a Saturday morning. Mother's Day weekend. She texts no one. She just walks to her car. She has done this hundreds of times. She knows this parking lot. She knows this hospital. She spent years saving lives inside that building. What she does not know is that someone has been crouched between the parked cars for 2 hours, waiting for her to walk out. He is wearing a blonde wig, a hat, glasses, a mask, and a gun. And the thing that will stop you cold, the thing that changes everything about this case, is that somewhere inside that same hospital, less than a few hundred feet away, her own mother is still on shift. She has no idea her daughter is already gone. This is the case of Patrice Wilson, and before this story is over, you will find out about a private note on her phone, a woman who went missing 12 years earlier, and a connection that nobody saw coming. Before we go any further, if you are new here, subscribe and hit the bell. We cover the cases that deserve to stay in the conversation. This is one of them. Patrice LaToya Wilson was born on August 1st, 1993, in Detroit, Michigan. She was the only child of Rosalyn Livingston, and from an early age, the two of them were close in the way that only children and their mothers sometimes are. Everything shared, every call answered, every milestone witnessed together. Patrice was not someone who drifted into a career. She chose nursing deliberately. She wanted to be in the room when things got hard. She attended Oakland University, earned her registered nursing degree, and joined the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority. After graduating, she took a position at Detroit Receiving Hospital, part of the Detroit Medical Center, one of the busiest trauma hospitals in the state of Michigan. There is a detail in this case that matters. Rosalyn, Patrice's mother, also worked at Detroit Medical Center. The same building, the same hallways, the same parking lot. Rosalyn had actually helped Patrice get the job there in the first place. They were not just mother and daughter, they were colleagues. Outside of work, Patrice was raising her son, Tyrese, who was 7 years old at the time of her death. Every double shift, every early morning, every late-night drive home, all of it was for him. Co-workers describe her in nearly identical terms: soft-spoken, steady. The nurse who stayed 45 minutes past the end of her shift because a patient on the other side of the unit needed someone. The colleague who showed up prepared, focused, and reliable. In December 2019, Patrice and her best friend, Deandra Brown, co-founded a platform called Nursing from the D, built to celebrate Detroit nurses, connect them professionally, and showcase the work they did every day. It was a passion project that reflected exactly who she was, someone who genuinely cared about her community and wanted to build something real inside it. She had plans, a career she was building, a son she was raising, a future she was working toward. By the spring of 2023, she also had a problem she was trying to walk away from. Jamir Miller, known as Gia, was 36 years old and lived in Inkster, Michigan. By the time he entered Patrice's life, he was not a stranger to law enforcement. His criminal record included weapon charges, substance charges, assault, DUI, and eluding police. Domestic violence was also documented in that record. Patrice and Jamir had been in an on-and-off relationship for approximately 3 years. From the outside, parts of it looked ordinary. They went on dates, took outings together, had custom jewelry made. But the people closest to Patrice say the warning signs appeared early. Possessiveness that never eased, jealousy that showed up in places it had no business being, a controlling nature that grew more visible the longer the relationship went on. When Patrice made the decision to end things, Jamir refused to accept it. He began showing up uninvited. He sent flowers. He left gifts at her front door. Patrice did not throw them away. She left them right there on the doorstep, untouched, in plain sight. That was not an accident. That was a message. She was making it clear she wanted nothing from him. He kept sending them anyway. In 2021, Patrice's Ring doorbell camera captured Jamir standing at her front door. He was masked. He was wearing gloves. He appeared to be attempting to get inside. Patrice posted the footage online, and it spread quickly across social media. In the video, she confronts him directly. Jamir, you breaking in my house? Like, are you serious? You breaking in my house, Jamir? His response, why would I break in your house? Her response, why are you at my door with gloves on? All that. Most people who saw the footage reacted with curiosity or shock. Very few understood the seriousness of what they were actually watching. In February 2023, Michigan authorities searched Jamir's apartment and found weapons and substances. That single incident produced 14 separate criminal charges. At the time Patrice was killed, he was on probation in Washington County, on bond, to Judge Cox in Third Circuit Court from a separate matter, and also out on bond for substance possession in Wayne County. 3 open legal matters. And he was still free. After the Ring doorbell incident, Patrice continued moving forward with her life. She kept working her overnight shifts. She kept building nursing from the D. She stayed close to her mother and focused on Tyrese. Jamir did not move on. In late April 2023, he created a Facebook album on his profile, Cash King Jamir, and titled it Me and P. P for Patrice. He began uploading to it in batches. On April 28th, he posted 53 photos and 27 videos. Later that same day, 35 more photos and 6 more videos. On May 3rd, another 39 photos and 15 videos. By the time he was finished, the album contained 175 items. The content ranged from photos of the two of them together to videos of Patrice cooking, sleeping, and going about her daily life. Private, ordinary moments captured without any sense that they would one day be reviewed as evidence. One photo of the two of them carried a caption that read, "I'll rather try hard than give up. Real man." The timing of those uploads sits at the center of this case. Patrice had been clear. She had left the gifts on the doorstep. She had posted the Ring footage publicly. She had moved on. So why, in late April and early May of 2023, was Jamir going back through years of their relationship and uploading it all? Was it an attempt to get her back? A refusal to let go? A form of pressure? Whatever the answer, the uploads stopped on May 3rd. The next thing documented on his profile was a photo posted May 12th with the caption, "Trying to be the helping hand to our community." The next morning, he drove to Detroit Receiving Hospital. Now, while all of this was unfolding publicly, Patrice was carrying something privately, something she had not told anyone. On December 1st, 2021, she opened the Notes app on her phone and typed a single entry to herself. It read, "I'm in love with a man who hurt the mother of his child." That note was not discovered until after her death. When it surfaced, it changed the entire shape of this case, because the mother of Gia's child, a woman named Bianca Green, had not simply been hurt. She had been missing for 12 years. Bianca Green was 24 years old in March 2011. She was a nursing student. She was the mother of a 4-year-old son, Gia Jr., who she shared with Jamir Miller. She was also believed to be 6 to 8 weeks pregnant with a second child when she disappeared. Her last confirmed sighting was March 25, 2011, in the Romulus and Inkster area of Michigan. Her family said Bianca had spent an entire year trying to get away from Gia Miller before she vanished. She had moved and kept her location hidden from him because she was afraid. That is how serious the situation had become. Gia was questioned by police at the time. He was never charged. Around 2012, he appeared in a video holding his son and asking the public for help in finding Bianca. "It's hard being a single father," he said on camera. "It's hard for me to even tell him what's going on." For 12 years, Bianca's family held on. They said she would never have walked away from her son voluntarily. They always believed something was wrong. And when Gia's name appeared in headlines again in May 2023, those 12 years came rushing back. Now look at the two women side by side. Bianca was a nursing student. Patrice was a nurse. Both were mothers. Both were in their 20s. Both had been in relationships with Gia Miller. Both had been trying to leave him. Patrice lost her life. Bianca has still not been found. Patrice knew something. That note tells us she knew. The question no one has been able to fully answer is how much she knew, and whether knowing it put her in more danger or less. May 13th, 2023. Mother's Day weekend. Patrice had just finished an overnight shift at Detroit Receiving Hospital on the 42,000 block of St. Antoine Street in Detroit. It was between 7:40 and 7:53 in the morning. She was on the phone with a friend as she walked through the employee parking lot toward her black 2020 Lincoln Nautilus SUV. Hospital surveillance cameras were recording. What those cameras had already captured, before Patrice even walked out of the building, was a figure who had been moving through that parking lot for approximately 2 hours. The figure was wearing a long blonde wig, a hat, glasses, a mask, and was carrying a backpack. He moved with patience. He was not lost. He was not confused. He was waiting.
Patrice reached her vehicle.
She unlocked it. She opened the driver's side door. In that moment, Gia moved from the back passenger side of the car and fired. Patrice was shot at close range inside her own vehicle. The friend on the phone heard her scream. Then the line went silent. Gia did not run. He climbed into the driver's seat of Patrice's SUV, started the engine, and drove out of the hospital parking lot. He stopped at a car wash in Inkster at some point during the drive. By then, he was no longer wearing the wig, the hat, or the mask. He was cleaning the vehicle. He drove approximately 30 miles and pulled into Pavilion Court, Patrice's own apartment complex in Novi, the place she had moved to feel safe. He parked the SUV outside and left. Inside the hospital, Rosalind was still on shift. She had no idea. Patrice's son Tyrese was at home, waiting for his mother to come back from work. Patrice did not come home. She did not text. She did not call. For a woman who checked in every single morning, the silence was immediate and alarming. Rosalind began making calls to Patrice's phone to her friends, to anyone who might know where she was. Nothing. By mid-morning, the family contacted police. Detectives pulled the hospital's surveillance footage. What they saw ended any possibility this was a missing person case. The figure in the blonde wig, the approach to the vehicle, the SUV leaving the lot with Patrice inside. They had a homicide. They had footage. They had a suspect. They did not yet know where she was. Roslyn went to local media that same day. "I got a call," she told reporters. "Someone said they were talking to Patrice on the phone, and they heard her screaming. Her phone went dead after that." She described Jamir as obsessive. She said the more Patrice pulled away, the more gifts he sent. She said Patrice left everything on the doorstep untouched to send a clear message. "I just want her to come home so she can see her son," she said. "Tomorrow is Mother's Day." Detroit police posted publicly that afternoon, identifying Jamir Miller as a suspect and stating their belief that Patrice was being held against her will. They distributed his image and the vehicle description. Later that same day, around 2 p.m., officers were notified that the SUV had been located at an apartment complex near Haggerty and 9 Mile in Novi. Officers arrived and searched the vehicle. Patrice was in the rear of the car. She had been shot multiple times. She was gone. That apartment complex was Pavilion Court, her own home, the place she had moved to feel safe. Jamir had driven her body 30 miles from the hospital where she had spent years saving lives and left her outside the door of her own apartment. Roslyn got the call no parent is ever prepared to receive. With the surveillance footage, the vehicle, the documented history of the relationship, and Patrice's body found at her own address, the investigation moved fast. Detroit police distributed Jamir's image across every local channel. His face was on news broadcasts, social media, and the department's official platforms. The investigation involved the Detroit Police Department's Major Crimes Division, Organized Crimes Division, Homicide Unit, Fugitive Apprehension Team, Special Response Team, Headquarter Surveillance, the 3rd Precinct, and additional law enforcement partners. Multiple search warrants were executed across Detroit, Inkster, Garden City, and Novi. On May 14, 2023, the day after the attack, Jamir Miller negotiated his surrender through his attorney. He walked into a Detroit police station and turned himself in. No standoff, no chase, no dramatic end. Just a man who had dressed in a disguise, waited in a parking lot for 2 hours, and killed someone he claimed to love, deciding there was nowhere left to go. On May 15th, Detroit Police Chief James White made the official public announcement confirming the arrest. He classified Patrice Wilson's case as a domestic-related incident. "Domestic violence continues to be a problem in our community," Chief White stated. "We have resources. We have domestic violence victim assistance units in our agency." Chief White also confirmed that investigators were now working with Romulus Police to re-examine the disappearance of Bianca Green. "We're going to cooperate with them," he said. "Pull their files, and we'll be working together to see if there's any correlation." Jamir Miller has never been charged in connection with Bianca's disappearance. She has still not been found. On June 1st, 2023, Jamir Miller was formally arraigned on 11 charges related to Patrice's case. The charges included first-degree murder, felony murder, carjacking, armed robbery, 1 count of felon in possession of a firearm, and 5 counts of felony firearm. He appeared via video link. The magistrate set no bond. First count is premeditated. It is a violent charge. Somebody died in this matter. Other charges are potential life offences. He is going to be remanded. I do believe that Mr. Miller is a danger. This was entirely separate from the 14 charges he was already facing from the February 2023 incident in Taylor, Michigan. Wayne County Prosecutor Kim Worthy addressed the case publicly. The defendant was a man that allegedly would not leave her alone, would not respond to her wishes to leave her alone, she said. The most dangerous time for a domestic violence victim is when that person tries to leave a relationship. Patrice Wilson was simply trying to live her life, work hard, and break off a relationship she knew was not good for her. On June 22, 2023, the preliminary examination was held, and the case was moved to circuit court. By October 10, 2023, the math had been done. The surveillance footage was clear. The disguise proved premeditation. The forensic evidence was in place. Jamir Miller pleaded guilty to 1 count of second-degree homicide. The remaining 10 charges were dismissed as part of the agreement. The agreed sentence? 35 to 60 years. If you are still with us, this case matters. Like this video and subscribe so YouTube keeps pushing these stories to people who need to hear them. It takes 2 seconds, and it makes a real difference. $200 million lawsuit and hospital failures. On August 1, 2023, what would have been Patrice Wilson's 30th birthday, her family gathered in Southfield alongside their attorney, Michael Fortner, and announced a $200 million civil lawsuit against Detroit Medical Center and Tenet Healthcare. The core of the lawsuit was this. Surveillance footage at Detroit Receiving Hospital had captured Jamir Miller moving through the employee parking lot for approximately 2 hours before the attack. He was visibly disguised. He was clearly waiting. And according to the family's legal team, no one in the hospital's security operation responded. No alert was issued. Police were not called until approximately 2 to 3 hours after Patrice was reported missing. There was someone lurking around their premises before Patrice even got off of work, Fortner told reporters, hours before. So that tells me no one was looking at the cameras. The family also raised a racial equity concern directly. We feel that had she been one of those white nurses down there, they would have announced it immediately, Fortner said. And maybe the young lady would still be alive. Instead, they waited 3-4 hours, my understanding is, to tell anybody, including the family, after they were notified that she had been kidnapped. Detroit Medical Center responded in a statement. The DMC stands behind our security team who acted swiftly to notify and engage local law enforcement to apprehend the assailant. We continue to cooperate fully with law enforcement as they prosecute this individual for the crime committed. We cannot comment on pending litigation. Patrice's sister, Destiny Livingston, spoke at the press conference. She was a very genuine person, very smart and intelligent, kind and loving and caring. It's just unbelievable that she's not here. Her son, Tyrese, was also there, wearing a shirt printed with photos of the good times with his mother. Rosalind, standing nearby, said, "For me, it's been really hard, but I'm trying to be strong for my grandson." The lawsuit became one more chapter in a conversation American hospitals have been avoiding for years. The conversation about how the people who care for everyone else are very often the least protected people in the building. Patrice's death rippled through Detroit's medical community. Nurses she had worked beside organized vigils. Co-workers shared stories of the small kindnesses she handed out on long shifts. Patients she had cared for came forward to talk about the calm voice that had walked them through the worst nights of their lives. November 7th, 2023. Frank Murphy Hall of Justice, Detroit. Judge Kevin Cox presiding. For the first time since Mother's Day weekend, Patrice's family was in the same room as Jamir Miller. And one by one, they stood up and spoke. Rosalind Livingston's statement was read by the attorney. It began with Patrice's private note, the one dated December 1st, 2021. She wrote to herself, "I'm in love with a man who murdered the mother of his child. So I ask you, Judge, as you sentence this monster who took her life, her duties as a mother, a daughter, a sister, and a woman who served her community as a nurse, show no mercy." Khalees Thomas, Patrice's best friend and first cousin, addressed Miller directly. "You murdered my best friend and my first cousin, Patrice. Your act has devastated my family and destroyed her mother. The sleepless nights are too numerous to count. The nightmares, the endless tears, haven't stopped, nor will they anytime soon." She described the void. She described what it is to never hear a voice again. "You took Patrice away from her child, her family, and her friends for your own satisfaction," she said. "Every time your cell door slams shut, may it be a reminder of what you did." Tyrese Barry, the father of Patrice's son, stood and spoke without notes. He told Miller he had warned Patrice. He told him that sending items to her doorstep was not how men act. And then he asked the question that cut through the entire courtroom. "Do your son got closure for what you did? What did you do to yours?" It was a direct, public reference to Bianca Green. Miller said nothing. Jeffrey Moore, Patrice's uncle, described her as a caring and selfless mother who had a heart of gold. "The loss of Patrice has left our family shattered," he said. "Her death has not only robbed her of a bright future, but left her son growing up without his loving mother. I will never forgive you, Gia." Then Pamela Golden, Patrice's grandmother, stood up. She did not read from a paper. She looked directly at Miller, and she spoke. "What kind of person are you? Where you come from? You talk about you loved her. How could you love a person and you took her life? How is that love? Why did you do this to my child? Why did you do this to my family? Why? Why? How would you like somebody do that to your mama or your sister? You ain't fit to live." Gia Miller sat in that courtroom and said nothing. Judge Kevin Cox sentenced Jamir Michael Miller to 35 to 60 years in the Michigan Department of Corrections. The man who could not let her leave will now spend the rest of any meaningful life he has left inside a cell. He gave up everything to keep her from leaving. In the end, he is the one who never gets to leave. And the warning. In the months that followed, Rosalind Livingston did something that takes a particular kind of strength. She took the worst thing that had ever happened to her and built something from it. She established the Patrice L. Wilson Scholarship, awarded every year on Mother's Day weekend. The requirement for recipients is simple. They must be nursing students who are also mothers. It has been awarded every year since 2023. "Mother's Day will never be the same for me," Rosalind said. "But to give another person an opportunity, that means the world to me." Nursing from the D, the platform Patrice co-founded with Deandra Brown in December 2019, is still active. On May 6, 2025, Deandra posted a tribute. "Your spirit continues to inspire me every day, friend. Nursing from the D is not just a brand. It is a celebration of the bond we shared, the laughter, the late-night talks, and the dreams we had for our nursing community. Happy Heavenly Nurses Week. I promise to keep our dream alive. I love you forever." Rosalind said it plainly. "I am so honored. I am so proud to have a daughter named Patrice Wilson that is still living on and going to continue to live on. It keeps me alive." Bianca Green has still not been found. Her case remains open and unsolved. Jamir Miller has never been charged in connection with her disappearance. There is one truth this case puts in front of every person watching. The most dangerous moment in an abusive relationship is almost never the beginning. It is the leaving, the week she ends it, the month she moves, the morning she walks across a parking lot thinking the worst is finally behind her. Patrice did what victims are told to do. She ended it. She moved. She stayed close to her family. She raised her son. And it still was not enough, because the man who decided she was not allowed to leave had one thing no precaution can fully protect against. He knew her schedule. He knew her car. He knew her hospital. He knew the exact hour her shift ended on a Saturday morning. If any part of this story sounds familiar, the partner who will not let go, the jealousy that never eases, the ex who refuses to accept the word no. What you are feeling is not paranoia. It is recognition. And there is help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You can call or text. You do not have to give your name. You do not have to be ready to leave today. You just have to start. Rest in peace, Patrice Latoya Wilson. August 1st, 1993 to May 13th, 2023. A nurse, a mother, a daughter, a woman who deserved every year that was taken from her. If this case moved you, like, comment, and subscribe. Every share keeps her name alive. We will see you on the next one.